The fluorescent lights buzzed like angry hornets overhead as Daniel's fingers brushed mine, rough from charcoal and canvas, sending a jolt through my arm that I couldn't shake. I yanked my sketchbook away, my heart slamming against my ribs, and spat, "Stay out of my space, you pretentious hack." But even as the words burned the air between us, those hands strong, scarred, alive with the kind of passion I pretended to despise lingered in my mind like smoke I couldn't exhale. In that cramped Manhattan studio, surrounded by the ghosts of half-finished dreams, I realized hating him was the only way I knew how to breathe around the truth. It started 2 years ago, freshman orientation at NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, when the city still felt like a beast I'd tamed with wide-eyed sketches from my fire escape in Brooklyn. I was Samuel Hayes, 18 and starving for something real amid the chaos of auditions and all-nighters. Art was my anchor pencils that didn't judge, colors that didn't lie. I'd grown up in a sleepy Ohio suburb where Sundays meant church potlucks and whispers about the different kid who drew faces instead of playing football. My parents, God bless their Midwestern hearts, loved me fiercely but blindly, clipping coupons and praying I'd find my way without ever asking what path I was on. Coming to New York was my rebellion, a canvas stretched blank and begging for strokes of defiance. Daniel Ruiz crashed into that world like a storm cloud over the skyline. He was 20 then, a transfer from some fancy California program, with sun-kissed skin that spoke of beaches I'd only seen in magazines and dark curls that fell just so, framing eyes like polished obsidian. He carried himself like he owned the light, bold lines, fearless shading while I hid in the corners, layering shadows until my pieces bled subtlety. From day one, we were pitted against each other, rival spots in the senior showcase. Critiques where professors pitted our styles like gladiators. Samuel's restraint is poetic, they'd say, and I'd swell with quiet pride. Then Daniel's turn, explosive, unapologetic raw genius. I'd roll my eyes, mutter under my breath about show-offs. But deep down, it gnawed at me. Why did his fire make my embers feel like ash? Our first real clash came in Professor Hale's life drawing class, the air thick with turpentine and the model's hesitant breaths. I was lost in the curve of a shoulder, my pencil whispering across the page, when Daniel leaned over, his breath warm against my ear. "You're hiding," he said, voice low like velvet over gravel. "Art isn't a secret, it's a scream." I shoved him back, chair scraping like thunder, and our eyes locked. Hate bloomed instant and fierce, a shield against the way his proximity made the room tilt. From then on, it was war, stolen easels, sabotaged palettes, barbs traded sharper than any blade. But always, those hands. God, those hands. Broad palms etched with the faint blue of veins. Fingers calloused from gripping brushes like lifelines. I'd catch him mid-stroke, muscles flexing under olive skin, and something in me would twist not revulsion, but a pull, magnetic and terrifying. Nights blurred into weeks as sophomore year dragged on. The city outside our windows a relentless pulse of sirens and streetlights. I'd hole up in my cramped dorm, replaying our fights like a masochist's reel, the time he accidentally knocked my inkwell into a still wet canvas. Black rivulets ruining a portrait I'd poured my isolation into. Clumsy much, I'd snarled, but as he knelt to help, his fingers grazing the edge of the mess deliberate, I swore me pulse betrayed me, hammering in my throat. I fled to the rooftop, chain-smoking menthols I couldn't afford, staring at the Hudson's murky shimmer. Who was I kidding? This wasn't just rivalry. It was a mirror cracking, reflecting fragments of a self I'd buried under sketches and forced laughs at frat parties. By junior year, the hate had calcified into routine, a armor I wore to classes and critiques. Daniel evolved to his work bolder, infused with stories of his Mexican-American roots. Vibrant murals that screamed heritage and hurt in equal measure. He'd talk about his abuela's hands kneading masa, passing down recipes like heirlooms. And I'd listen despite myself, sketching his profile in the margins of my notes. He was from LA. He said once over lukewarm coffee in the student lounge, where palm trees bowed to earthquakes and dreams shattered like glass. Family's everything. He'd grin, that lopsided smile disarming as a loaded gun. Mine was a phone call every Sunday. Mom's voice tinny with worry. You eating enough? Sammy, met any nice girls? I'd lie, say yes, and hang up to punch my pillow until my knuckles bled. The turning point came unannounced. A Thursday in October when rain lashed the studio windows like accusations. We were paired for a collaborative piece. Hale's twisted idea of growth through friction. The prompt, hands. Intertwined. Expressive. Telling a story without words. Irony bit deep as I watched Daniel across the table. His sleeves rolled to elbows. Forearms corded with quiet strength. Let's make it real, he suggested. Voice stripped of its usual edge. No bullshit. What do your hands say? I stared at mine, slender, ink-stained, trembling faintly, and felt exposed. Like he'd peeled back layers to the boy who'd once traced his own reflection in a foggy bathroom mirror, wondering why it looked back with such stranger's eyes. We started slow, pencils tentative as first confessions. His hand on the paper first, bold strokes capturing the ridge of a knuckle, the subtle arch of a wrist. Like this, he murmured, guiding my line with his own, our fingers brushing accidental on purpose. Electricity arced, unspoken, and I pulled away too fast, smudging the charcoal. See, you're still hiding. His eyes held mine, not mocking, but searching, piercing the facade I'd built brick by Midwestern brick. We worked in silence after that, the rain a curtain to our revelations. By midnight, the sketch emerged, two hands, one clenched in restraint, the other reaching mine and his, intertwined in hesitant grace. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And as he packed his bag, clapping my shoulder with a "not bad" haze, the warmth of his palms seeped through my shirt, branding me deeper than any hate could erase. Winter descended like a heavy curtain, blanketing the city in gray slush and shorter days that mirrored my mood. The showcase loomed, our pieces side by side in the gallery preview, and the anticipation twisted my gut. I'd poured everything into my series, portraits of fractured identities, faces half-shadowed, inspired by late-night confessions to my reflection. Daniel's was fire and folklore, abstracts pulsing with cultural fury. Critics buzzed, Hayes' subtlety haunts. Ruiz demands attention. We avoided each other in the halls, but the air crackled, charged with what we'd left unsaid in that rainy studio. One night, post-critique hangover of cheap wine and hollow applause, I found him on the fire escape, nursing a sketch pad under the sodium glow. Couldn't sleep, he asked, not looking up. I shrugged, settling beside him, the metal groaning under our weight. New York sprawled below, a mosaic of lights winking like secrets. He passed me a flask tequila, sharp and stolen from some party, and for the first time, we talked without barbs. About LA's relentless sun versus Brooklyn's gritty charm. About families that love too loud or too quiet. My dad's a mechanic, he said, tracing idle patterns on his thigh. Hands like mine, always fixing, never breaking. I nodded, throat tight, and admitted my own, a teacher mom who mended hearts with hymns. A dad who fixed cars, but not the silences between us. As snow flurried soft, he turned to me, eyes reflecting the city's glow. Why do you hate me, Sam? The question hung, vulnerable as a fresh canvas. I laughed, bitter, but it cracked into truth. Because you see me, and I don't know how to let you. His hand found mine then. Deliberate. Fingers lacing with a gentleness that undid me. Not a touch of rivalry, but recognition, a bridge over the chasm I'd dug. We sat like that until dawn, hands clasped against the cold, the world blurring into possibility. Spring thawed the ice between us, but not without storms. Senior year hit like a freight train, internships and capstones piling on. Yet Daniel became my constant study sessions, bleeding into midnight walks along the East River, where we'd debate brushstrokes and bare souls. He was out, unapologetically, with a quiet pride that made my own secrecy feel like chains. It's not a phase, he'd say, sketching lovers in the park, their embraces fierce and free. I'd nod, envy twisting sweet, and change the subject to safer strokes. Our Hands project evolved into something more, a joint installation for the Spring Expo, titled Touchlines. We sculpted it in stolen hours, clay forms of palms pressed together, fingerprints etched like maps of memory. His touch guided mine now, not in challenge, but communion, thumbs smoothing ridges, nails scraping soft to reveal texture beneath. Each session peeled back another layer. The time I confessed my first crush, a boy from high school whose laugh haunted my dreams, ending in a slammed locker and a vow of silence. Daniel listened, his grip tightening. That wasn't weakness, Sam. That was you, fighting for air. But doubt crept in like fog off the water. What if the Seuss was just another rivalry, redefined? Late one evening, as we wired the sculptures under gallery lights, his phone buzzed. A photo, him with X's at a pride float, rainbow flags whipping wild. Jealousy surged, irrational, and I lashed out. So this is your thing. Collect strays. He froze, hands stilling on a wire. Is that what you think we are? The hurt in his voice sliced deeper than any critique. I stormed out, rain soaking me to bone, replaying the venom I'd spat. Hiding again. Always hiding. Days passed in radio silence, the expo approaching like a guillotine. I threw myself into solos, my pieces turning jagged portraits of clenched fists. Eyes averted. Mom called from Ohio, her voice laced with that familiar worry. You sound distant. Honey, everything okay? I lied again. Just busy. But hung up to curl on my bed, Daniel's hands ghosting my skin in memory. He was right. I was screaming, but only to empty rooms. Reconciliation came unbidden. A note slipped under my door. Gallery. Midnight. Don't hide. Heart pounding. I went. He waited amid our sculptures, shadows dancing like confessions. I get it, he said, stepping close, his palm cupping my jaw, gentle, insistent. Fear's a hell of a canvas, but you don't have to paint alone. Tears stung, hot and unbidden, as I leaned into that touch, the first honest one I'd allowed. Our lips met, tentative, then surely a brush of worlds colliding, soft as charcoal dust. Not fire, but warmth. A beginning. The expo opened to murmurs and flashes, our installation drawing crowds who traced the lines with reverent fingers. Intimate. They whispered. Transformative. Daniel stood beside me, our hands brushing under the tablecloth of night. A secret shared in plain sight. But freedom's price loomed, my family's visit. Slotted for graduation. How to bridge Ohio plains to this skyline truth. As summer beckoned, we planned a road trip California, calling Daniel home, me tagging along to see his roots. The drive was therapy on wheels, highways unspooling like thread, playlists of indie folk and mariachi blends, stops at diners where he'd steal fries, fingers lingering on mine across Formica, in motels with flickering neons. We'd talk until dawn, his abuela's stories of migration, my dad's unspoken regrets over beers at the garage, You're braver than you know, he'd murmur, tracing my palm's lifeline. And for the first time, I believed it. LA hit like a fever dream, palm shadows on stucco, ocean salt in the air. His family enveloped Yuzabuela's tamales steaming, uncles ribbing with easy affection. This your muse? One teased, clapping my back. Daniel grinned, pulling me close at a backyard barbecue, his hand in mine a quiet declaration. I tensed at first, old habits dying hard, but their warmth thawed me. That night, under star-pricked skies, he asked, ready to tell them? My nod was small, but seismic. Back in New York for fall applications, grad school dreams clashing with real-world fears, the high faded into fractures. Job hunts soured, galleries wanting diverse voices but closing doors on too raw. Daniel landed a residency in Brooklyn, his hands now shaping community murals. I freelanced. Sketches for ads that felt like selling soul. Pressure mounted, manifesting in fights petty at first, then piercing. You're pulling away, he'd accuse, voice cracking. Because what if this breaks us? I'd retort, fear masquerading as fury. The nadir came mid-November. A critique gone nuclear. My solo show pitch exploring queer invisibility through fragmented hands. Drew Hale's rare barb, derivative. Lean into the personal. Humiliated. I unloaded on Daniel later. Over cold takeout. You make it look easy parading your truth like it's art. Some of us bleed for it. His face crumpled, hands balling into fists. I bleed too. Sam. Every day? Choosing you over hiding. He left, door clicking soft as finality. Alone. I shattered a vase hurled. Shards like my resolve. Weeks of ghosts followed, empty sketchpads. Unanswered texts. Christmas loomed. A ticket home burning a hole in my pocket. On impulse, I drove to his studio. Rain-slick streets mirroring my resolve. He was there, mid-stroke on a canvas of reaching palms hours. Immortalized. I'm sorry. I choked, stepping into his space. His arms wrapped me, fierce and forgiving. We're both learning, he whispered, hands cradling my face. One line at a time. Renewal bloomed fragile as crocuses through concrete. We rebuilt with intention, weekly hand dates. Tracing each other's scars over coffee. Voicing fears before they festered. Daniel taught me vulnerabilities stroke bold. Unapologetic while I showed him restraint's poetry. The beauty in pauses. Our art fused deeper, a joint zine. Palms and promises. Pages of poetry and prints sold at queer markets. Proceeds to youth centers. Holding the first copy, his fingers over mine on the cover. I felt the weight of witness, not just lovers, but creators, allies in the quiet revolution of being. Yet time's current pulled inexorable. Graduation caps sailed like confetti into June skies. Diplomas crisp as new pages. Post-ceremony. My parents arrived, mom's hugs smothering sweet. Dad's nods gruff with pride. Daniel met them at a rooftop brunch. Charming with stories of our collaborations. I watched, heart in throat, as they laughed at his jokes, oblivious to the undercurrent. That night, over hotel wine, I cracked the seal. There's someone. I started, voice steady as his hand under the table. Daniel. He's important. Silence stretched. Mom's eyes widening. Dad's fork pausing midair. Then, tentative, as long as he makes you happy. Son. Tears fell. Relief raw bridge extended. Wobbly but whole. Summer scattered us. Daniel to LA for family. Me to Ohio for reconciliation. Home felt smaller. Skies too vast without skyline bite. Dinners turned dialogues, mom admitting her own hidden pains. Dad sharing a long-buried letter from his brother. Lost to silence in the 80s. We didn't know how. he said, hands mechanic rough like Daniel's clasping mine. But we learn. I left with hugs tighter. A sketchbook fuller, portraits of them. Hands open now. Inviting. Fall found us reunited in a Bushwick loft, our first shared space. Walls bare and begging. Unpacking was ritual, his abuela's woven basket beside my Ohio quilt. Canvases stacked like promises. Nights blurred into mornings. Hands intertwined in sleep. Waking to coffee and critiques over toast. But adulthood's edges sharpened, bills stacking. Gigs sporadic. A gallery rejection hit Daniel hard, too political, echoing my own freelance droughts. We leaned in. Hands linking across kitchen tables. Brainstorming late. What if we teach? Workshops for kids like us. The idea ignited a community class. Hands that heal. In a Harlem center for LGBTQ+ youth. First session, 10 teens. Eyes wary as fresh paper. Daniel demoed bold lines. I the subtle shades. A girl, 14 and trembling. Sketched her first self-portrait. It's me, she whispered. Hand in mine. Daniel's glance across the room proud. Electric sealed it. This was our canvas now. Larger than frames. Painting futures with every stroke. Winter whispered warnings. Though. News cycles churned with rollback headlines, rights eroded like watercolor in rain. Protests pulsed through streets. Signs clutched in defiant fists. We marched. Hands linked in the crush. Chanting for visibility. One rally. Tear gas canisters popped like punctuation. Daniel shielded me. His palm pressed to my back. We've got this. He gasped. Eyes watering but fierce. Home that night. We collapsed. Bodies tangled. Hands mapping safety in skin. Love. I learned. Wasn't absence of storm but anchor in it. Spring brought bloom and bruise. My first solo show landed a modest space in Chelsea. Unclenched. Opening night, Daniel in the crowd. His smile brighter than spotlights. Critics noted the evolution, Hayes' hands now reach. Raw with revelation. Post-toast. Alone in the alcove. He pulled me close. You did it. Our kiss. Soft amid murmurs. Felt like victory not grand. But earned. Yet shadows lingered. Daniel's residency ended. Offers pulling him west. A mural commission in San Francisco. It's big. He said over diner eggs. Fingers drumming anxiety. My gut nodded New York our route. But dreams divergent. What about us? I pressed. Voice small. He squeezed my hand. We adapt. Like art. Discussions stretched weeks, long-distance sketches via video. Visits plotted like plots. Fear nod-wool distance dull the touch. But his eyes held steady, hands remember. The farewell loomed. Airport dawn gray as goodbye. Bags checked. We lingered at security. Palms pressed final. Call when you land. I murmured. Throat tight. His thumb traced my jaw. Every night. Promise. The gate swallowed him. But his warmth lingered, a phantom limb of love. Months unspooled in separation's stark lines. Calls became lifelines, his voice crackling from bay fog. Mine from subway rumbles. I'd sketch his hands from memory. Sending scans. He'd reply with photos, palms dusted ochre from murals. Loneliness carved hollows. Filled with work, my classes thriving. Teens blooming under guidance. One boy, mirroring my younger self, confessed his crush. Scared. I asked. Hand on shoulder. Terrified. I smiled. Good. Means it's real. Thanksgiving pulled me west. Plane wings cutting clouds like doubts. Reunion at SFO. His arms crushed me. Hands framing face. Missed this. He breathed. Fingers in hair. LA weekends wove us tighter hikes in Griffith. Hands swinging free. Dinners with his family. where abuela slipped me recipes. Winking, keep him grounded. Mijo. But undercurrents stirred, his world expanding. Collaborators close, while mine anchored east. What if we meet halfway? He proposed one sunset. Ocean crashing accord. Chicago beckoned a compromise city. Art scenes pulsing midway. Applications flew. Acceptances landed like grace. Summer packed us again, boxes labeled ours. Hands dusty with tape. The drive east midway was odyssey, detours to diners. Debates dissolving into laughter. In a Nebraska motel. Stars vast overhead. We lay hands laced. This is home, I said. He nodded. Wherever we touch. Windy City winds whipped welcome. Our new loft in Wicker Park a whirlwind of exposed brick and possibility. Unpacking unearthed echoes, a sketch from NYU days. Hands tentative then. Now. We framed it beside fresh works murals planned for local walls. My class is expanding to galleries. Daniel Dove into community. Hands painting rainbows on youth centers. I curated shows. Fingers flipping through portfolios of emerging queer voices. Evenings. We'd cook his tacos spicy as stories. My salads crisp with care hands brushing over chopping blocks. Conversations carving deeper. But transitions tempests tested. Chicago's chill bit literal and figurative, my accent marked outsider. Daniel's energy clashed with slower paces. A joint projecta public installation on queer history drew backlash, graffiti scrawls overnight. Go home. We scrubbed side by side. Hands raw with resolve. But doubt seeped. Worth it. I whispered. Elbow deep and cleaner. His palm stilled mine. Every scar tells the story. Holidays healed, my parents visited. Ohio warmth, thawing Midwest frost. Over deep dish. I introduced our life hands visible now. No hiding. Mom teared up at a mural unveiling. Dad clapped Daniel's back, strong grip. Kid. Acceptance. Hard one. Felt like sunlight after eclipse. Daniel's family FaceTimed from LA. Abuela's prayers a bridge across miles. Spring surged with opportunity, a grant for our workshop series. Hands across generations. We traveled NYC reunions. LA immersions teaching elders resilience. Youth's fire. In a San Francisco session, an old man shared his 70s coming out. Hands trembling on mine. Took decades. He said. Daniel across the circle. Eyes locked. But look at you now. That night. Hotel balcony. We toasted hands raised to horizons. Summer simmered tensions. Though. Daniel's star rose, a solo exhibit in Soho. Pulling him east. Just a month. He promised. Packing pallets. Alone in Chicago. The loft echoed empty. My sketches turning solitary palms outstretched. Unanswered. Calls grew strained, his exhaustion. My envy. You're drifting. I accused one static-laced night. We're growing. He countered. Voice soft. Trust the lines. Reunion in New York reignited, gallery opening. His hands alive on canvas. Mine clapping proud. Post-party. Alley shadows. We collided kisses hungry. Hands reclaiming. Missed you. He gasped. Back west. We recalibrated, bi-coastal rhythms. Visits like vital breaths. Fall anchored us, a proposal. Not rings, but resolve a shared studio in Chicago. Walls for dual dreams. Winter wove warnings anew. Health scares flickered, Daniel's abuela weakened. Hands that once needed now frail. We flew south. Me holding her stories as she held his. Love fierce. Mijos. She whispered. Fingers linking ours. Her passing carved quiet grief. Funerals a blur of embraces. Back north. Snow-muffled morning. We painted memorials hands in ochre and azure. Her legacy layered. Spring's thaw mirrored mending. A youth from our class, facing family rejection, crashed on our couch. Can't go home. He sobbed, hands fisted. We listened. Daniel's arm around him. Mine brewing tea. Days turned advocate calls. Nights of stories shared. Watching Daniel mentor patients in every gesture I saw our arc, from rivals' friction to families' forge. By summer's end, a crossroads, a dual city fellowship. Our names entwined. Acceptance letters arrived tandem. Hands tearing envelopes in sync. Partners in every stroke. He grinned, pulling me close. The move be coastal bases. Hearts since felt like evolution's next line. Yet life's palette held shadows. A car accident on a slick Chicago street, Daniel's faultless swerve. But my passenger side whiplash lingered. Hands unsteady on brushes. Hospital sterile. His grip my anchor. I've got you. Recovery was crawl, physio sessions. His hands guiding mine through exercises. Frustration flaring. Useless. I snapped one day. Pencil slipping. He knelt. Eyes level. Healing's the bravest art. Slowly. Strokes returned shaky first. Then sure our patience a shared masterpiece. Fall-framed focus. Launching touchpoints. A nonprofit blending our workshops with digital archives. Teens sketched online. Elders contributed tales, hands bridging generations virtually. Launch event, virtual gallery. Faces pixel bright. A kid from Ohio logged in. Voice cracking. This saved me. Daniel's hand found mine under the desk. Squeeze saying all. Winter whispered legacy. Proposing properly now under Chicago lights. His knee bent. Box simple. 2 rings etched with palm prints. Forever's our canvas. He said. My yes trembled. Hands clasped eternal. Wedding small, families mingled. Vows handwritten promises of touch through tempests. Years layered like varnish. Deepening hues. 5 postgrad. We balanced Chicago hub with travels residencies in Berlin, where hands painted walls with global queer icons. Retreats in Oaxaca. Daniel's roots revived in clay. Our home evolved, nursery sketches for future dreams. Though adoption talks tiptoed tentative. When ready, we'd affirm. Hands over bellies unquickened, but full of hope. Challenges chiseled character. A funding cut gutted touchpoints. We bootstrapped. Hands calloused from side gigs, Daniel bartending. Me tutoring. Sleepless nights bred bickering. We can't save everyone. But we try. Resolution in dawn runs. Breath sinking. Palms slapping high fives at mile's end. Milestones marked meaning. 10th anniversary hike in the Smokies, where we'd first dreamed aloud. Picnic spread tacos and salads, hybrid his hand in mine as leaves turned fire. Still hate me. He teased. Echoing origins. Laughter bubbled. Only you're snoring. Truth deeper. Love's evolution from spark to steady flame. Mentorship matured. That boy from years back. Now artist in residence. Credited us in his bio. Samuel and Daniel taught me hands hold histories. At his opening, we stood back. Tears pricking parents now. To legacies beyond blood. A health hiccup hit my diagnosis. Low but lurking arthritis creeping into joints. Threatening the trade. Brushes grew foes. Hands betraying with aches. Daniel adapted first, adaptive tools. Co-painting sessions where his strokes extended mine. We're one line. He'd insist. Fingers massaging knots. Therapy unearthed fears. What if I fade? His vow. Then we illuminate together. Summer's grace, a breakthrough treatment. Hands reclaiming fluidity. We celebrated with a mural massive. City block, intertwined palms spanning eras. From Stonewall fists to future freedoms. Dedication drew crowds. Youth tracing lines with awe? A girl asked, "How'd you know?" Daniel glanced at me, felt it in the touch. Fall fostered family, adoption approval. A 5-year-old arriving wide-eyed. Hands small but curious. Papa Sam, he dubbed, tugging me to crayons. Daniel's Daddy Dan built forts. Our trio a canvas of chaos and calm. Bedtime stories, tales of rivals turned partners. Hands weaving magic. Winter's wisdom, reflecting on paths. Over cocoa. Kid asleep between. We recounted from NYU sparks to global strokes. Hated you once. I murmured. He chuckled. Best mistake. Hands linked over child's curls. Gratitude swelled for friction's forge. Time's tender chisel. Spring spurred legacy. Touchpoints expanded nationwide. Chapters in Ohio. LA. Beyond. Our keynote at a conference. Hands' history. Slides of our journey rival sketches to family portraits. Q&A raw, a young man. Voice quaking. How do you forgive the hiding? I paused. Daniel's grip grounding. By reaching out. Always. Summer's serenity, beach vacation. Toes in sand. Kid building castles. Daniel's hand in mine. Waves lapping like applause. This, he said, is the masterpiece. Echoes of beginnings, those unforgettable hands now etched in every grain. Yet arcs bend unexpected. A call from Ohio, Dad's heart faltered. Hands that fixed engines now frail. We flew. Kid in tow. Hospice hushed. His grip weak, but warm, proud. Son. Of all this. Passing gentle. Legacy in last squeeze. Funeral bridged worlds, Daniel's eulogy. Hands gesturing grace. Mom's embrace encompassing. Fall's fortitude, grief's garden. Blooms from ache. We planted a tree in his yard. Roots like resolve. Back home. Kid asked. Grandpa's hands. I sketched themechanic strong framing for his wall. They built us. Winter wrapped reflection. Holidays hybrid, Ohio kin westbound. Tamales mingling with turkey. Toast to absent. Hands raised collective. New Year's, resolutions scrawled more travels. Deeper dives. Daniel's note. Slipped in pocket, forever sketching you. Spring spark, a book deal. Our story inked, unforgettable lines, a love in strokes. Launch intimate. Dedications to lost hand Sabela. Dad. Readings resonant. Audiences leaning in. A fan approached, inspired my coming out. Daniel's arm around me. That's the art. Summer sealed cycles. 10th workshop anniversary, gala fundraiser. Our kid emceeing awkward charming. Auctioned, that first NYU sketch. Hands intertwined. Bidding sword. Proceeds powering scholarships. Closing speech. My voice steady. From hate to hold time teaches touch. As leaves turned, we pondered next chapters, perhaps a cabin retreat. Hands idle in woods. Or urban expansions. Murals marching on. Whatever lines lay ahead. Ours linked eternal rival embers to enduring light. Decades danced on. Time's brush broad and benevolent. 20 years post-NYU. Our loft a gallery of ghosts, faded photos of fire escape nights. Kids' finger paintings yellowed beside awards. Now parents to 2 adopted siblings. A girl joining at 10. Fierce with questions, our days wove work and wonder. Mornings, Daniel's murals commissioned nationwide. Hands tireless. Mine curated exhibits. Fingers flipping fragile folios. Evenings, family dinners. Hands passing plates. Laughter layering like glaze. Challenges came gentler. Worn smooth by weathering. Arthritis nipped persistent. But adaptations abounded, voice-activated software. Collaborative canvases where Daniel's strokes voiced my visions. Symbiosis. He quipped. Paladin palm. Our nonprofit thrived. Touchpoints, a tapestry of touch. Apps archiving stories. Retreats fostering futures. A chapter in rural Appalachia echoed my Ohio roots. Hands bridging urban-rural rifts. Milestones multiplied magic. Kiddo one's wedding our boy. Artist now. Vows under string lights. Daniel walked him. Hands clasped paternal. I teared from front row. Pride prismed. Toasts toasted us. To the hands that held first. Grandkids followed. Tiny fingers tracing our lines. Giggling at Papa Sam's stories. Reflections rippled richer. A retrospective at MoMA, Hayes Ruiz, Lifelines. Spanning rivalry to Renaissance. Opening night. Crowds queued. Critiques crowning. A chronicle of queer becoming. We wandered halls. Hands linked. Pausing at youth. That first sketch. Label noting ignition. Hey, did you hear? I whispered. His squeeze. Loved you already. Losses lent luminosity. Mom's passing. Softened sleep. Hands folded prayerful. Her service blended hymns, and Hope Daniel's guitar strumming soft. Our kids eulogizing. Back home. We sifted boxes, letters to me. Unspoken supports. She knew. He said. Arm around. Always. Global gigs gilded grace. TED Talk in Vancouver. The grammar of touch. Hands gesturing universal. Audience QS queried, sustaining spark. Daniel on stage. Seamless. Daily drawings her sketch the love. Backstage. His palm to mine. Truth. Summer sabbaticals sustained soul. Cabins in Adirondacks. Hands idle in lakes. Kids now adults joining with partners. Bonfires crackled confessions, daughters query. How'd you know it was forever? I glanced at Daniel. Firelit, felt it in the friction. Fall fostered forward. Retirement whispers, not cessation. But curation mentoring masterclasses. Books brewing sequels. Our third. Honorary via nonprofit, a team mentee. Hands steadying under guidance. Families chosen. Daniel affirmed. Barbecue smoke curling. Winter's wisdom warmed. 50th looms distant. But anniversaries accrue, ruby rings etched deeper. Trips to Origins NYU visits. Signing yearbooks with keep reaching. A health blip for him routine scare. Cleared clean reminded fragility. Hospital vigil. My hand in his, not done sketching. His grin, never. Spring surge, launching legacy lines. Elder youth pairings painting histories. First pair, a 60s activist and Gen Z poet. Hands harmonizing on canvas. Gala unveiling. Our family front row grandkids wide-eyed. Speech snippet, time's not linear. It's looped in love. Summer's serenity, cross-country drive. Echoes of youth. Stops at diners. Hands stealing fries. Motels with stars. Stories swapped. In a desert dusk. Pulling over. Still unforgettable. His kiss. Sun warmed. Eternally. Yet threads tugged taut. Global unrest rippled. Rights retracted abroad. Echoes domestic. We rallied virtual. Hands signing petitions. Workshops weaponizing art. A mentee fled conflict. Crashing stateside. We housed. Hands holding through nights. Safe here. Kiddo murmured. Daniel's nod. Always. Fall framed fortitude. Book 2 dropped, Beyond the Brush. Enduring embraces, memoir mosaic. Tours touched hearts, Ohio readings. Dad's garage ghosts. LA launches. Abuela's apron hung. Fans shared parallels. Your hate to hold healed mine. Winter wrapped wonder. Holidays hybrid grand. Tables groaning. Hands generation Algriate grand. Not yet. But close. Toasts timeless. To hands that hate no more. As snow silenced streets. We sketched by firelight portraits paired. Lines looser with age. What's next? I pondered. His thumb over mine. The unfinished stroke. Time. Our co-creator. Promised palates plentiful. Ages advanced. Silver threading curls. But spirits stayed supple. 30 years on. Our bodies bore badges. Daniel's shoulders stooped slight from scaffolding. My knuckles nodded but knowing. The loft. Legacy-laden. Hosted kin cascadus grandkids' graduations. Great-niece's first drawings. Touchpoints, tentacled global, partnerships in Paris. Pods in Peru. Hands transcending borders. Trials tempered tenacity. A stroke felled Daniel Minor. Speech slurred brief. Rehab rigorous. My hands his mirror in mirrors guiding grips. Echoing early exercises. Role reversal. He joked. Jaw working. Recovery rallied. Walks with canes clicking cadence. Sketches scrawled defiant. We're indestructible. I affirmed. Palm to pulse. Milestones mesmerized. Golden anniversary. Intimate island escape. Justice waves whispering vows renewed. Barefoot beach. Rings reapplied. Still rivals. Laughter lapped. Only for the last dance. Back. Bash blended. Kids orchestrating. Surprise videos from mints worldwide. Hands that changed worlds. Reflections resonated retro. Documentary deal. Unbreakable lines. Filmmakers filming flashbacks NYU archives. Fire escape recreations. Premiere poignant. Our younger selves on screen. Raw and reaching. Q&A. A fan. Timeless. Daniel's mic. Times the artist. We're the medium. Loss is layered light. Kiddo one's cancer battle. Brave but brief hands holding through chemo chills. Her passing carved constellations in grief. Memorial mural. Community painted. Hands 100 strong. She painted joy. Eulogy echoed. Grandkids carried on. Her sketches in studios. Global graces grew. UN panel on arts advocacy. Our voices virtual hands gesturing equity. A refugee artist collab. War-worn palms pressing peace prints. Exhibit emotional, survival strokes. Sales sustaining sanctuaries. Summer sanctuaries soothed. Family farm in Ohio. Inherited hands harvesting. Stories sown. Grandkid queries. Tell the hate story. Embellished edition. It was love in disguise. Fall fortified futures. Touchpoints endowed. Scholarships named Hayes Ruiz hands. Funding fearless voices. Selection gala. Teen honoree. Eyes alight. Your path paved mine. Tears twin. Hands clasped under table. Winter's warmth. Memoir trilogy capped. Final flourishes. Reflections on release. Launches lively. LA bookshop. Abuela's ghost grinning. Chicago critique. Hill's successor lauding. Inscriptions intimate. To the hands that held history. Yet yielded yields. Daniel's mobility waned. Wheelchair wheels wearing workshops. I adapted easels low. Our co-creations closer. Symmetry. He smiled. Brush extended. Frustration flickered faint, slowing us. My retort, deepening. Spring's spirit, great grand arrival. Tiniest hands tugging beards. Nursery rhymes rhymed with our rhythms Daniel's lullabies low. Mine sketched beside. Cycle complete. He murmured. Fingers on downy head. Summer song, retrospective roadshow. City saluting. In NYC. Full circle studio visit. Ghosts greeting. Young artists approached, inspired. Daniel's wisdom, hates just the underdrawing. Fall's flourish, nonprofit handover. Successors schooled in strokes. Farewell fate, roasts ribbing rivalry roots. Toasts to timeless touch. Not end. I clarified. Evolution. Winter whispered wind down. Hearthside. Afghans draped. We reviewed real life's montage. Hands heroes. Regrets. He queried. My no. Every line led here. His yes, more time touching. As frost framed windows. Plans pondered, assisted living. No home. Hands handy. Hospice hints hovered humane. But days dawned defiant. One dawn. Daniel faltered, breath shallow. Hands cooling. Bedside vigil. Family filtering. I held palm to pulse. Loved you first. He breathed. Eyes eternal. Passing peaceful. Light lingering. Grief's gallery, memorial massive. Murals worldwide in tribute. Eulogy mine his hands. Unforgettable, hated once. Held forever. Legacy lived, foundation flourishing. Grandkids guardians. Alone. Nalov's lines linger. Sketches sustain, his portrait prominent. Hands reaching still. New stroke solo. But schooled in symbiosis teaching. Touching anew. Time's tapestry. Threaded tight, from rival sparks to radiant reach. In every palm pressed. His echo endures humanity's hue. Deepened by dare. Seasons succeeded soft. Solitude a studio vast, yet voiced by memory. 2 years widowed. My hands arthritic allies wielded will. Workshops weekly. Daniel's legacy. Youth yoking past to present. Grandkids gathered often. Great-grands gurgles grounding. Papa's turn. Daughter urged. Easel erected. Strokes shared. Stories spun. Your dad's hands fire and forge. Reflections ripened reflective. Archive assembled. Our oeuvre organized. Donated to NYU, Hayes Ruiz collection. Igniting inspirations. Curator's note. A life's lines, from friction to fusion. Visits voluntary. But vital students sighing over that first sketch. Hate's hook. I'd quip. Love's line. Losses lessened lonely. Mom's echo faded gentle. Peers pass periodic. Hands honored in exhibits. A mentee's marriage, rings reminiscent. My blessing bestowed. He'd approve. I affirmed. Hug heartfelt. Global gestures graced. Virtual vignettes, touchpoints talks. My tenor hands on laptop. Legacy launched. A Berlin branch bloomed. Collab with queer collectives, unforgotten. Prince pulsing solidarity. Summer's solace, solo sojourns. But seldom family flotillas to beaches. Hands helping sandcastles. Great-grand queried, great-grandpa Dan. Tales tall, he hated me once, best thing ever. Giggles gales. Grains gripping tiny fists. False focus, final flourish effect, memoir coda. Echoes in ink. Publisher pleased, culmination. Launches low-key, Ohio orchard. Apples akin to Ohio origins. Chicago cafe. Coffees like confessions. Inscriptions intimate, for hands yet to hold. Winter's weave, weaving warmer. Assisted. No adaptations ample. Aids attentive. Hearth habitual. Hot toddies honoring him. Holidays hallowed, tables teeming. Toasts to touchpoints traversed. Yet yielded youth. A spark. Subtle workshop widower. Hands hesitant but harmonious. Conversations cautious. Coffee's casual. Reminds of Daniel. I confided to daughter. Her wink, good build on it. Spring surprise. Invitation accepted, collaboration casual. Canvases coaxed. First session, fingers familiar. Friction friendly. No rush. He echoed. Echoing us. Strokes synced slow. Stories surfacing, his losses. Love's latent. Summer's song, shared sails. Seas serene. Hands on helm. Horizons hinting hope. Unforgettable. He murmured. Palm pressing. Echo, eternally. Fall framed forward. Touchpoints, transition triumphant. My tenure titular advisory. Not anchor. Gala grand, awards accrued. Anecdotes abundant. Speech succinct, hands hate no more, only heal. Hold. Hope. Winter's whisper, wedding whimsical mine. Modest. Vows voiced, to new lines. Old loves honored. Rings redundant, but resonant palms promising. Ages advance amiable. 90s nudge, but narratives nourish, great. Gestating. Legacy labyrinthine, nonprofits networked. Books bedrock. One Eve. Easel-edged. Sketch of us, 3 generations Daniel dominant. Hands hub. Masterpiece. Murmured. Brush bowing. Time's testament. From hated hands to hallowed whole journey's joy. Humanely hummed. In every embrace extended. Life's art affirms, touch transforms. Timelessly.